Okay, well here we are. It's May 8th. It's, oh boy, about 9:30 p.m. And I'm here with my Aunt Julie, Ford, all the way from Spokane, Washington. And just getting some memories of the Malitsky family. And again, what was your birth date?
My birth date?
Yeah.
May 27th, 1948.
1948. So what's your earliest memory?
My earliest memory. Kind of hard to put it into chronological order.
Oh, it doesn't have to
Yeah,
be.
I mean, you know, like you think of what day came before what event and
Right,
stuff like that.
Yeah.
I guess probably one of my earliest memories is giving us a bath in the little sink.
Grandpa?
Yes, in the little sink in the kitchen.
Really?
And he used to heat up the towel by the oven door for us so we would be warm. I guess maybe my mom was still around then.
Uh-huh.
But I remember them both being in the picture.
Jeez.
And we used to get our baths in the kitchen sink, and then we would get folded up into this warm towel. And it felt really good.
Sure.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
So that's one of my earliest memories.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. So by the time you were born, you were over on 225 East Jackson?
226 East
226 East Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
And just, I guess, any memories growing up, you know, living in the house, your dad, your mom, what was it like?
It was very full experience because there were so many of us.
Yeah. By that
we were
time,
never lonely.
But you were number 9. Only Vicky came after you, and that was
right.
So you didn't have your own bedroom, to say the least.
You're right. Yeah. I think there were 4 of us in the bedroom by the bathroom in Pop-Pop's house.
Okay.
And there were 2 beds. One was by the window. One was by the step that leads down to the second room there, the middle room. And Mary and Celia shared one room, and Vicky and I shared the other.
Okay.
Bed, I mean, not room. And so the things that I remember the most is my mom making bread in the pantry, my dad coming in and trying to hug her around the waist, and she would say, "Not now, Johnny," you know. And he would always be wanting to like hug her and stuff like that. It was just really cute and special. And then just always remembering that he worked really long hours, I guess, with a big family. You know, he worked like one shift, and then he'd have to work another shift, and sometimes he was gone quite a bit, you know, just trying to provide for the family. But and everything was kind of on schedule. I mean, like breakfast, my mom would get up early in the morning and make him breakfast, and then get us off to school. Then he'd get home like 2:30 or so. And if we were in school and it was a rainy day, you could find my dad outside school waiting for us to pick us up and take us home. And I also remember if it was a really cold day and we wound up walking home, it was a snowy day and snow was up to your knees and you'd fall. You'd be down on the hill, and I remember thinking, I have to get down that hill, and it was like a blustering snowstorm.
The one right leading to your house right there?
Yeah, they call it Malitsky's Hill.
Okay.
The people in town. And walking in the door, and he would either have a little bit of whiskey for you or a little bit of wine to warm you up, and he'd have you sit by the radiator, you know. He was very, very caring like that, you know. And if we were sick, I can remember being in bed and he would bring up tea or again Vicks and whatever that you needed, made sure that, you know, you were doing okay. And I remember covering us up at nighttime too, like coming in,
tucking you in,
and well, not really tucking us in, but we would be in bed, and he would come in the middle of the night, and if the covers were off here, so I remember feeling him putting the covers over you.
Back on.
Yeah, those kinds of memories. But we had a real routine with him. I mean, he came home from work, down the cellar, you know, take a shower. I guess sometimes he had a beer or 2, and then would have dinner, you know. And
would you, now, again, by this time, there's 9 kids, 2 parents. Would you all sit around the table together in the kitchen?
You know, I don't remember a whole lot of when we were all there together.
Well, yeah, that's true, because Carl would probably, and maybe my
Carl
dad
may
were out of the
have
house
been-
by then.
Yeah, Carl I think was in the Army.
Right.
And then your dad was also in
Okay.
the service.
That's right.
And we used to write to them.
Okay.
So I remember Florence being there. My my earliest memories of the older of the family being there was Florence, because when Vicki was born, Florence helped my mother, with the two young ones, because she was the oldest daughter. So I became very attached to Florence as my mother figure, kind of, because I think she took care of me a lot when my mom was taking care of Vicki. So, yeah, and I know that Frank, Joe was in the service too. I don't remember too much about them being at home either. I just remember Florence being there.
Okay.
And I remember the guys coming home on leave and stuff. Like your dad coming home and Carl coming home. But I think by then, when they got home from the services, when they moved to Connecticut, and Florence and Stan and Joe and Frank had all taken off for a better future in Connecticut. So that left, Hank and Mary, Celia, me, and Vicki at the house. And I remember then, when Hank was in college, my mother first started to work out of the house, and she got a job at the hospital as a cook.
Your mother did?
Yeah, she was trying to help Hank with college and stuff like that, because he was out of the house at that time, and we were all pretty, much that we didn't need, babysitters and things like that. So she worked, and Mary and Celia worked at the hospital along with her in the kitchen. So I remember that part of it, and then, let's see, I guess my last memory of my mom being at the house was at your Aunt Florence's, or my sister Florence's wedding. And everybody went up to the church, St. Mary's Church, which was your mom's church at that time, because we had St. Cunegonda's, but that was being rebuilt, so we didn't have a church of our own, so we did things at St. Mary's. And Florence's wedding was at St. Mary's, and they forgot my mom and Vicki and I at the house for the wedding.
What do you mean they forgot?
The mother of the bride, they forgot to take us in the car. Everybody left and we were home by ourselves, so we had to walk up the alleyway up to the church. Not that it was far, but that always stuck with me.
A mother is a thankless job, huh?
Yes, I guess so sometimes. So we got there on time and all that.
Sure,
It was just pretty funny. Everybody thought she was going with somebody else.
Right, sure. Oh, yeah.
Things get kind of confusing.
Absolutely.
And then after that, when my mom died, of course, I remember Florence wanting to take a couple of us up there to, she would watch us and have my dad with.
Well, and I mean, how about, if you don't mind talking about that, were you there when she was not feeling well? And
Yeah, I was, Vicki, we were, Mary and Celia and Hank and Vicki and I were at home at the time, and she was home up in the bedroom in her room sick with a cold type of a thing.
Okay.
So she took time off from work and was being seen by a doctor. The doctor used to come to the house at the time. And finally it got to the point where he thought she needed to be admitted to the hospital because she wasn't getting better.
So I remember Grandpa at one point telling me that the doctor said, "Oh, she's fine," or something.
Dr. Miller, yeah.
That was a different doctor.
He was the McAdoo doctor.
Okay.
And I don't remember exactly. Oh, we had Dr. Miller and Dr. Cole, I think it was. And
Okay.
maybe your dad might correct me because I don't remember exactly which one was there at the time. But all I remember is she was transferred from home to the hospital for care. And she only lasted about a week. But the night that she died, I remember my dad, Hank, Mary, and Celia had been at the hospital, and Vicki couldn't go see my mom because she wasn't 12. They had to be a certain age at that time.
That's
so
right.
So the two of us were at home, waiting for them to come home from the hospital, and we got the phone call that they didn't tell us that she was dying or anything, just that her condition worsened, and if they're coming back home, that we should turn around and go back to the hospital. So we all drove. I think Hank drove my dad's car.
And you were how old at the time?
I think I was 12 going on 13 because I was able to see my mom, but Vicki wasn't old
Okay.
enough.
Okay.
And I can remember driving to the hospital, and we were praying the Hail Mary. Maybe we were saying the Rosary, but I know we were praying in the car out loud, and just hoping, that things would be okay. But of course, by the time we got there, it was too late. She was already gone, so we didn't get to see her again.
Do you remember the last time you saw her?
I don't remember the last time I saw her in the hospital. I know she was kind of unconscious.
Okay.
But I don't have a memory of the last time I really saw her, but I know it was in the hospital.
Okay.
That was my last memory of seeing her. But Florence did want to take, like Vicki and I think, back to Connecticut to help Dad raise us. But my dad said no, he wanted to keep us all at home. So, and he managed. I mean, we kind of went on. I mean,
Again, now who took care of you who kind of filled in as in her function?
Shoes?
Yeah.
My dad and Mary probably, my sister Mary probably took the mother figure at that time.
Wow.
And of course, Carl and Josie lived in Philadelphia, so they would come home a lot of times. And I often look at Josie and said, "You helped us so much through that time," because I thought she did. Before she sometimes felt like, I don't remember doing anything much, but maybe I just looked at her as like another replacement figure, for my mom. But I've always loved Josie. She's a wonderful sister-in-law. And then my dad just carried on. I mean, he didn't cry in front of us. I mean, we knew he'd be crying downstairs in the basement or whatever, and Mary, I think, would go down and talk to him. So he kind of kept it all to himself, but we lived as normally as we could after that point. We just took it all in stride and cooked our meals and kept the house clean, and, it was just part of the normal routine because we already started to learn to do some of those things.
How was that on you as far as was that a big blow at the time to you?
It was a big blow.
Surprise too, probably. Because I mean, you probably thought she'd be coming home, right?
Well, yeah, because it was so sudden. I mean, she only lasted like a week, I believe. And but it's funny, Johnny, because I think it affected me more when I became a mother. Gonna get emotional, but not having her there at that time is when I think I felt the most. Pain.
To go to for help and...
Yeah. Just that you didn't have a mother to share what other people would be talking about. Their moms coming over or helping out.
Sure.
Stuff like that. But I think that's when it was the worst, to tell you the truth. When you got a little older and you realize what you missed.
Sure.
But all in all, I mean, we had a wonderful childhood, and I'm so grateful for that now after I've been out in the world a little bit and see a little bit. Not that I wasn't grateful before, but you just realize how precious life is.
Yeah. Now where did you first go to school? What school was it?
St. Gunda's.
Okay.
The parish school. So 1st to 8th grade, and actually I was in 8th grade, I believe, when she died.
Okay.
I think it was in 7th grade.
And then from there to McAdoo High?
No, actually McAdoo High closed the year of my sister Mary's junior year.
Really?
They closed it down when she was a junior.
Do you know why?
And they consolidated, I guess because of budget and not enough maybe school children in the McAdoo area. So they were consolidating some of the schools. And so the McAdoo High School became, part of the Hazleton area high school system. And I went to Greeby Junior High from there for 9th grade.
What was it called?
Greeby, G-R-E-B-E-Y, Greeby Junior High.
Now where is that?
It was actually very close to St. Joseph's Hospital off of...
in Hazleton? Oh, okay.
Hazleton.
In Hazleton, okay.
And then for 10, 11, and 12, went to Hazleton Senior High School. And that's where I graduated from.
That's why we're here.
Yeah.
So, of course, there's a lot of, I don't know, family legend about, of course, the antics of some of the members, on the brother side.
Yeah.
Any memories of dealing with all the brothers? Of course, some of them were out of the house by the time you were getting older.
Right. I remember your father. He was always the one who had a time schedule. If he would give us a ride to school. Actually, I guess that was when I was in elementary school back then. So he was at the house at that time, and he was working for my Uncle Johnny Bartis in construction.
Okay.
And he would give us a ride to school, but it was like, got to be ready at this time, and I'll take you to school. So we were always ready for stands.
Okay.
You know, and I don't know how long he worked at the house there. I don't seem to remember that for a very long period of time. So, but anyway, the memories. Did they ever play pranks on you girls? Oh, the guys you were talking about, what they... Oh, yes, of course. But it was mostly Joe and Hank, and maybe Frank too, but they would take our dolls down to the basement, and they would hang them on the pipes, the water pipes, down the basement, and they would tell us that our dolls were down there. Of course, they hung them high so that we couldn't reach them. Oh, geez. So they would think it would be funny, and they would do those kind of pranks on us. But they were fun types of things. And then watching television, I remember Uncle Joe, we'd be watching some serious, like, CSI show, which back then, of course, wasn't CSI. But Dragnet or something? It was some kind of life-saving show, and I don't remember what it was exactly. But he would always ruin it by saying, oh, they've got 10 minutes to save these people. They'll save them in the 10 minutes that's left of the show, you know, so they would always, like, joke around about things like that. Okay. And they used to take us, of course, for walks in the woods, and we were kind of considered tomboyish, I guess, at that point. They would take us up the mountains, and we could scale those mountains in no time, and then come back down again. Well, we took our neighbor girls, after the guys were out of the house, the new neighbors of ours, and took them for a walk in the woods in the back there, climbed up the mountains, and then we tried to get them to come down the mountain. There were two girls that were about our age, and they were scared they couldn't come down, and we were thinking, why can't you come down, you know? It was pretty steep, maybe? Yeah, it was pretty steep, but we were so used to going up and down that we thought everybody could do that. So they taught us a lot of those kinds of things. And how did you get them down? Do you remember? Eventually just going back up and gently holding their hands and helping them down the mountain. And of course picking blueberries. We used to go pick blueberries quite a bit. And baseball was always a big sport. They would have us either help in the outfield, you know, where we'd catch the balls that went far, far away, bring them water, which of course we thought we were so important because we were the water girls. Wow. And your dad especially, I remember going with your mom and him. He would take us to Hickory Run State Park. Oh. He was always good at taking us to places like that. And he liked to do the potato roast and hot dog roast on the field, like across from my dad's house. There were no homes at that time. And that was our playground. Well, and I can remember as a kid myself, maybe 1970, 71, when we were down on summer vacation, he mowed down some of that grass over there. And one night we had a campfire there, I think. Maybe Uncle Tony, somebody had, maybe Uncle or Uncle Frank or Uncle Henry had the guitar, and we're all, you know, we all had like a cookout, and we all, and that's where we were all of us were there. Marshmallows, we would roast some marshmallows. Yeah, we used to call them hot dog roast and potato roast, and they were the best potatoes, you know, cooking them on the fire like that. Yeah, but those were like the memories that I remember the most, you know. Okay. And let's see. Well, as far as so when you're growing up, there's 4 girls still in the house? Right. Okay, big question. Everyone out there is going to want to know, how did the 4 girls deal with the one bathroom? Not to mention with mom and dad using the same bathroom, I guess, right? I think my mom and dad actually used the shower down in the basement.
Oh, okay.
And we had the bathroom upstairs. I mean, obviously they could use the bathroom if they wanted to. I know my dad never used that bathroom upstairs. He always left that for us. He would use the cellar.
Oh, okay, okay.
And we just managed. I don't remember it ever being a big problem. No. I think we mostly took our baths at night, so we had plenty of time at night instead of rushing around in the morning, get ready for school and work and stuff like that. But the funny thing that I have to tell you about my dad is when I got engaged.
Oh.
My Joe had the ring and we got engaged on Christmas Eve.
I'm sorry.
We got engaged on Christmas Eve.
You said Joe or something?
My Joe. My husband.
Oh, Uncle Joe Ford, sure.
When
okay.
we were getting engaged.
Sure, yes.
And I mean, we knew we were getting engaged, and I was upstairs. Of course, I didn't tell anybody. And my dad was watching wrestling downstairs on the couch. And Joe goes down to talk to him, and he says, Mr. Malitsky, I'd like to marry your daughter, Julie. He says, do I have your permission? And he says, hey, did you see that? Look at that wrestling move, you know? And like my dad was like, oh yeah, sure, you know, that's fine. It was kind of like, yeah, but let me get back to my wrestling. It was like, you know, and I'm cracking up upstairs laughing.
Oh, you were listening.
I was listening.
You were listening. Oh,
and Vicki was upstairs with me, and she goes, what are you laughing about? What are you laughing about? So of course I didn't tell her until I actually got the ring. You know, so that was always funny. I remember him asking him that. And then when Sonia was born, we had moved out of the house by then. We were down in Cape May, New Jersey, and that's where both Sonia and Andrew were born. Joe, my husband, called my dad from Cape May and said, where'd you go? I just want to let you know that we had a daughter. And he says, oh, that's okay. You know, because back then, I guess it was always important to have a son to carry your name.
Okay.
And here Joe's all excited, he's jumping all over the hospital, causing this big scene, you know. And my dad's like, oh, that's okay, Joe. You know, next time, maybe, you know. And of course, we did have a boy the next time, you know, but it was just hysterical, you know, the way things were back then.
Oh, yeah. What a character.
Yeah.
He really loved his wrestling, huh?
Oh, he loved his wrestling. Yeah, he would call up Rob, Mary's husband, and dial her every time the wrestling was on. Hey, Mary, tell Rob wrestling's on channel so-and-so. I mean, it was like a regular thing. He had to tell him every time the wrestling was on. Yeah, he loved wrestling. And, of course, he was watching not college wrestling.
Professional wrestling.
Yeah, the professional wrestling. And like when Uncle Mike would come to the house and want to watch college wrestling, he used to tell Mike Washoe, he would tell him, oh, that's phony. He says, you should watch the wrestling that I watch. And of course it's just the opposite.
Yeah, just the opposite.
But he loved it. He was so entertained by the wrestling channel. Yeah.
Jeez.
So lots of good memories. Very good memories.
And did you guys live next door for a while after you were married?
We did.
Okay.
When we got married, we asked my dad if we could live next door, and the contract was being terminated with the neighbors who were renting from my dad at the time.
So all those years, in the 70s, he had always rented out the other half to somebody else.
Yeah, we had renters the whole time I remember being there. Mostly it was the Coquindas that I remember being there. And I think one of our Polish relatives also lived next door for a little while. You probably know the Kolishes, right?
Yeah, well, I remember some Kolbushes, living there.
One of them lived there for a while as well. And then Joe and I rented from my father, and we totally went to work on the house. I mean, Joe, my husband, patched up walls, went down to the walls. We painted, we put in wall-to-wall carpeting, and it just looked so pretty. I remember when we, first got over this. I think my dad really enjoyed having us next door.
Yeah,
and,
sure.
I think we probably lived there for at least 2 years, and then Joe joined the Coast Guard, and that's when we moved to Cape May.
Okay.
He wasn't happy about that, I don't think, my dad. Because I remember he said something to Florence or something that, well, if he really loved you, he wouldn't take you away from home. Because I had never lived out of McAdoo before. And I mean, I really did think when I moved 4 hours away that I had moved to the end of the earth.
Oh,
you know?
gee. Right.
But
Never mind Alaska, right?
never mind Alaska. But my dad really came around. I mean, it was a career for Joe, and he stayed true to that career for 22 years. Combined with the Army before that, and so my dad really did come around. We went to visit him all the time on weekends and stuff, so it was fun.
Wow.
Quite an experience, and that's when I learned that there are a lot of people who were really messed up. A lot of the military families that I had encountered.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, kind of like just very dysfunctional.
I see.
Like the wives cheating on their husbands.
Oh, right.
It's like, where's this coming from?
Wow.
But yeah, that was the first time I guess I got a real glimpse of outside McAdoo when everybody kind of stayed together forever, and it was way different when you get out there.
You guys had quite an ethic in your upbringing and
the commitment,
commitment, the work ethic, the schedule, like you're talking about. Because I know growing up, and I never remember my dad staying home. Every day, Dad goes to work.
Right.
Yeah, and of course that stemmed from Grandpa.
Right. And my Andrew is like that now too. I mean, he hardly ever calls in sick. Like he's a meat cutter for Fred Meyer.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And so yeah, he has that same work ethic of my dad. I swear. So now. When he's coming down, he sold his house up there, and he's coming down to our way so he can be closer to family. And he has all this lead time built up because he didn't take much time off, so it's given him a nice cushion, in the time he's going to wait for a transfer to another Fred Meyer store. So it's a Kroger store. That's what you call them down in California.
Yep, Kroger.
Right.
Yep.
Oh, and of course, my memories of my kids growing up, just like when you would visit Pop-Up. Of course, Vicki was living next door then, and her kids were about the same age as Sonia and Andrew. And I think they drove Pop-Up a little crazy, to tell you the truth. So they loved pulling pranks on Pop-Up and stuff. They were just talking the other day about, and I don't remember this, but TJ and Andrew, they're probably 2 or 3, found grapes or something. I don't know if we had a grapevine at that time, I can't remember. Or else they had them in the house, and they squished grapes like all over Pop-Up's car.
Oh.
And Pop-Up kept his car like washed and shining all the time. So they had a lot
grapes
of
can do some nice stains too.
Probably, yeah. They probably didn't do too much good to the car, but kids would do those kinds of things. Just you, John.
Wow.
So it's interesting because they have a lot of fond memories of McAdoo's. People do.
Yeah, me too.
Even Michael's little Vinny, he loves going to McAdoo, and he wrote Vicki this little poem and said, "If I could stay a year in McAdoo, I would. That's how much I love it."
Jeez.
Going to visit that old homestead.
Yeah.
So a lot of good spirits in that house.
Oh yeah. Jeez. Wow. Well, I don't know. I think we've covered kind of a lot. I can't think of anything else as far as.
I just know that one of the other things we did to my poor father is, as girls, we were always late, and he always wanted to be at church on time because he collected. And he'd be out in the car tooting the horn and tooting the horn. He would have the clock set like 10 minutes or 15 minutes ahead of time, but of course we all knew they were 10 or 15 minutes ahead. So we'd be ours last minute getting to church, and he used to get so frustrated with us. And I guess we never learned to get there early just to satisfy him.
Well, and I remember going to Mass, and when he would be collecting, he had the most serious look on his face doing that. I mean, he was,
Yeah, he took it very seriously.
He did. So, imagine, slowing him down from getting there.
4 girls. Four girls trying to get 4 girls out the door. Yeah.
Wow. Didn't you play guitar too?
I did. Vicki, myself, and Tony, and my husband Joe played guitar, but we went to play at St. Richard's down in Barnesville because Father Gorak at St. Cunegonda's would not allow folk guitar mass. That's when they first started coming out. So we went down to St. Richard's to play for mass, and we would do that every Saturday night.
Were you there when they asked Father Gorak? Were you there?
All I know is that when Father Gorak knew that Joe and I had registered to be parishioners for St. Richard's, we did get a phone call from Father Gorak, and Joe answered the phone, and Father Gorak gave him grief and said that if you are ever dying on the street and they call for me to come to see you and give you last rites, I'm not going to be there. And my husband was like devastated, and he said, well, then that'll be on you if you decide not to do that for us.
Wow.
So it was pretty intense.
Wow. Wow.
We were renegades.
Yeah.
Renegades.
Definitely. Wow.
Yeah, can you imagine hearing that?
Wow.
It was not good.
Wow. Fighting for their turf, which is their parishioners.
Yeah, well, what they did at that time, and you had boundaries, and you had to go to a certain church, But, and I think Joe had told them, he said, well, we really are into the folk masses, and we'd like to play guitar and be a part of the service, and we can do that at St. Richard's, because we did ask him, I believe, and he said there will never be a guitar in my church.
Wow.
My church. And he also would not turn the altars around. When they used to have the priest used to face the altar.
Yeah, so he'd have his back to the parishioners.
And they were supposed to change that the priest was facing the parishioners.
Is that after Vatican II, maybe?
After Vatican II. So it was very hard to get him to change. So
wow, he was traditional.
And the other priest was amazing. Wonderful sermons, and just a real man of the cloth. I mean, this priest would give people money at Barnesville if he knew they were in need, rather than taking it from the parishioners. And he didn't have a lot, but he was really a servant of the people.
What was his father? Do you remember?
Father Edward McElduff. He's still alive now.
Really?
He was in the Navy. Before he became a priest, and I think that's what made the difference. He was out in the world a little bit more, but sincerely, he was probably the closest thing to Jesus that I had ever met.
My goodness. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Interesting.
Did you ever get the ruler slapped on you when you were on your nickels?
Didn't.
No.
No, I was good.
Okay.
I don't think I ever got into trouble really with the nuns like some people have stories like that.
Yeah.
Did my brothers have?
I think my mom may have. I can't remember, but I remember.
My Joe did when he went to school in Freeland.
Okay.
I think he was kicked out of Catholic school actually.
Okay, we'll have to get on to him maybe in August when I go back.
Right.
Oh, jeez. Well, I don't know, maybe to finish up, Lord willing, I'll someday, my dream is to put this into kind of like, make some DVDs of all 10 of you, But, so again, hopefully it'll happen one day. But so for anybody who ever sees this, especially your siblings, my uncles and aunts, any messages you want to just end with to whoever watches this, of any of your family?
Gosh, shine kids.
Is that what he would say? Is that what Grandpa would say?
Gosh, shine it. Yeah, gosh, shine kids. What are they doing again? Or something like that. But of course he always meant the boys and not the girls. But no, I just love my brothers and sisters so much, and have so many good memories. And when I think of families who don't talk to each other or whatever, it's like, how do you do that? I could never. There's just such a strong bond that I just love being with them.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, John.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you so much.
It's getting so cold.